show. I hate that, but that's what I hate about software that does things like that. Like they should tell you there's a beta something long before you hit record.
Yes.
Not at the exact precise moment you hit record. But
What
like,
does that mean? They're testing your system or something?
yeah, well, we use something called StreamYard, right? It's a web-based live streaming platform, and it's great. But the time to tell you that there's a beta of anything is not literally the second you hit the record button. Like when you hit record, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
That's not when you want to be told about something new. You want to be told about something new like the minute you log in. Like, okay, I'm logged in. Hey, by the way, there's a new thing. Not like it's like getting in a car, turning on the engine, and it starts. By the way, did you know you could be running on premium fuel instead? And it's like, fuck, I don't care. I got to get to work. It's such a weird thing.
I haven't driven a car in so long.
You're a true city guy, huh?
The last time I rented a car, I sat in it for 20 minutes. The guy finally goes, "What's the problem?" I said, "How do you make it go?" Because I didn't have a key. You had to, I put it in park and then hit the brake. I'm like, that's not intuitively correct. Why would I hit the brake to go forward? It's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. And he looked at me like, "Are you sure you want the car?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but it's not my fault. You guys got rid of all the old-fashioned shit I'm used to." And how do you get it in second gear?
Where's the crank? Where's the spark coil?
Yeah.
Where's the choke?
How
am I going to get this thing to run without a choke?
That's right.
Yeah, I usually, with the Prius, you'd hit the start button and go, "Where the hell's the engine?" Oh.
Yeah, the start button. So how do you stop the car? Hit start. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Excuse me. Oh, and I should let you know, I do have dogs. You might hear barking when Joanna comes back.
That's okay. I'm not allergic.
I've got Mishka over here and she snores. So
yeah. So you
not as bad as my wife, who sounds like an elephant seal. It's like, oh man, she's really.
I have a greeting card.
Does she listen to the show? She's gonna appreciate that.
Yeah, no, she never watches.
No, she walks in the middle of the show. She doesn't watch the show.
That's true too.
That's how we know she doesn't watch, because she walked in the middle of the show and she's like,
"What are you doing? Your show
on?"
Oh, did you want a sandwich?
No, she'd never ask me that.
No, she'd be like,
"How long have you been married?"
28 years this Saturday.
Well, congratulations.
Hey,
Thank you.
28 years.
Yeah, don't ask me how we managed to pull that one off, but
I've been with Joanna almost that long, but we haven't been married that long.
Well, we've been together like 30 years, so I mean,
yeah.
We haven't gotten bored of each other quite yet. But all right, let's see here. Oh, where is your?
Oh, it's so exciting.
Bio.
This is a nice little setup. StreamYard. Can anyone use this? It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a free version, and then we're paying so we can have our own graphics and logos and stuff. But
on the free version, would it be a good substitute for Zoom if I was doing my workshops with people, my classes one-on-one or something?
I don't know. I mean, unless you have a reason not to use Zoom, like if you don't like
No, I pay for it. I have no problem. I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah. No. Zoom's great for teaching. This allows us to fire it across a pile of different platforms. So it can be live on Facebook. It can be live on YouTube, and live
the
on
chat. The chat's really cool because you'll notice. You may not see the live chat.
I see private. If I hit the word comments.
Yes, in the comments.
There's people here. I see hello, Julie here. Hey, friends.
You're seeing the YouTube chat and you're seeing the Facebook chat. And it just commingles them into one.
Oh,
feed,
I see.
Which is really nice.
Are we live right now? Are the people who said, "Hey, I'm here"?
We're live. Yeah, just no swearing. No, you can swear all you want.
Holy,
you really don't give a shit. But
okay.
Oh, there's Bill Lord.
Bill Lord just came out of a
Rhymes with Orange.
Work done. He's doing good.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, Bill's got great branding. I mean, I still remember to this day. Nothing rhymes with orange.
What's that?
Bill Lord's branding and Nothing Rhymes with Orange.
Well,
right?
it's the Rhymes with Orange studio. Yeah, he was at Mavo. We had a great time talking. It's been a while.
Am I allowed to say? Here's Patricia said hello to me. Can I allowed to say hello? Do I say?
You can say anything you want.
But I don't. But I don't chat back. I don't even know how to.
Oh well, just you type at the bottom where it says post a comment.
Oh, I see.
Oh yeah, he can. Yeah, that's right.
I see it.
Just don't let it distract you. Maybe stick on the
I'm not going to pay attention to it. Yeah, you guys be in charge.
the private chat so you can at least see what we're trying to tell you.
All right, hello, but I'm not going to talk to you. Okay. All right, I'm going to get out of the private chat because I'll start staring at that.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, where are we at?
I like that it. I like that people are on like before you actually start, sort of like before your. I assume there's a musical intro and we all sing and dance for a bit, like Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell in Spirited.
Oh, how was that? I didn't.
That was fantastic.
Oh yeah, all right, we're gonna have to watch that.
It was fantastic. It was over 2 hours long, and I was like this.
Oh yeah.
The whole time. It was just magic. I love musicals. It was fantastic. I'm gonna watch it again.
I saw outtakes or behind the scenes of Will learning the dance moves and stuff.
Oh, I'd love to see that. What was that on YouTube or something?
I guess so. Stumbled into my feed somehow.
Okay. Oh, you're awake now, Mishka? Do you want to go back? You want to go out?
See, you can just let him out. My dogs, we can't let him out. We'll never see him again. That he sold his meat products here.
Oh, that problem's solved. All right.
Speaking of them, let's see if they're trying to come in. 1 second here. Want you coming in? Okay. Is that you walking your dog there, Dan?
Oh, it's just letting her out.
Yeah, good exercise. Good. That's why.
Yeah, that's about the only exercise I get these days. Okay, what time is it? 4:59. We are on in about 30 seconds or so.
You don't get to shovel snow anymore.
No, I get to shovel the sunshine.
That's right. No more heart attacks from snow shoveling.
That's usually what kills people in Buffalo.
Pennsylvania.
Too many beef on wick and shoveling snow.
I know someone found her uncle outside, dead in the snow.
You say found an uncle?
Found her uncle dead in the street from shoveling snow. Got a heart attack. Not recently. This was years ago, but it was in Pennsylvania. So
the snow was heavier back then.
Well, it's definitely heavy in the east or in the Sierras.
All right, Sue's now going to get our attention and is going to give us the old countdown here.
2, 1.
Hey there, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop. And George and I are thrilled to welcome a great friend of ours, Johnny Heller. Johnny, how you doing?
Very well. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's going to be a pleasure. We're going to talk about audiobooks, and we're going to talk about his career, and we're going to talk about
what's on that sign behind his head.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to, because he's also a great audiobook coach. So if you've got a question for Johnny, throw it in the chat room, and we will get to that in just a little bit. We got plenty to talk to him about, and we are looking forward to this. Are you ready, Mr. Whittam?
I'm ready.
All right. VoiceOver Body Shop right now. It's time for VoiceOver Body Shop. Brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, the home of Harlan Hogan's signature products. Source Elements, the makers of Source Connect. VoiceOver Heroes, become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your voice actor website doesn't have to be a pain in the butt. VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for voiceover success. And World Voices, the industry association of freelance voice talent. And now, here's your hosts, Dan and George. Well, hello there. I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VO.
BS.
All right. Well, we're back, and we're past Thanksgiving.
He survived another one.
We got rid of we had the rest of the turkey last night. It lasted all weekend, and it was basically the primer for the dogs to eat their dinner. So well, it's like, you don't like the food? Here's some turkey, and that's how it went. And how was your Thanksgiving?
I heard you had a very international Thanksgiving.
It was fun. It was fun.
We had a very low key one. It was just a few visiting friends, and I spent the morning riding my bicycle up a mountain, which has become kind of a tradition. So I rode up Mount Wilson with a few friends and rode back down again. And it was hard, but it was beautiful and the weather was great.
It looked like I was watching the YouTube video or the Facebook video, and I'm like, gee, usually you just like roll down, but this time you went up and then rolled back down.
Yes, we earned our turns, as we like to say. Yes, we did. But it was a nice, pleasant, and the weather was fantastic here in Southern California.
It really was. Yes, shoveling all that sunshine. Sorry,
certainly was.
Buffalo friends. Anyway, tonight we're going to talk about audiobooks because there seems to be an awful lot of you out there that are like, I want to do audiobooks.
It seems to be the gateway voiceover, sort of voiceover adjacent career that people.
It's the
find their
gateway
ways
drug
into.
for voiceover, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we're going to introduce our guest because this guy is one of the top coaches in the biz. He knows the audiobook business inside out, backwards, and upside down. Johnny Heller is an audiophile golden voice narrator and one of the most sought-after audiobook and commercial VO coaches in the nation. And he's a really swell guy. Johnny is on the ALA Odyssey. He's an ALA Odyssey Award winner, a Grammy nominee. He's narrated over 1,000 titles in almost every genre. I got to ask him about that. Publishers Weekly named him a Listen Up Award winner in 2008 through 2016. Audiophile Magazine named him a Best Voice of 2008 through 2011 and 2014 to 2018. What happened in the in-between years? 2020 and one of the top 50 voices of the 20th century. This is getting old here. A multiple recipient of Booklist and Publishers Weekly starred reviews, Johnny has garnered over 30 earphone awards, is a 14-time Audie Award nominee, and a four-time Audie Award winner. Let's welcome to VoiceOver Body Shop our good friend Johnny Heller. Johnny, how you doing?
I should do what you didn't say. I said not to do. Pretty good, thanks.
What not to do?
Yeah, the one-word answer.
The one word answer.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Okay,
I think you could
Good,
shorten
next.
all that. I think you could shorten that whole intro down and just put one word: grizzled.
Yeah, grizzled veteran. Yeah, like they used to say about wrestlers.
Yeah, wisdom.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a long time since we had you on. I think the last time you were on, we were still doing EWABs. Back when I was in Buffalo and George was in Santa Monica. But can you tell us, because you haven't been on in a while, we have a larger audience, a massive audience all over the world. Can you tell us a little bit about your background aside from all the stuff that I just rattled off and how you got into voiceover?
I started I started my career as an equity actor on stage, and I was doing equity and I did stand-up comedy. So I do I was on a show on the Blackstone Theater in Chicago, and I'd come down at 10, and I'd drive out toward the airport area and do and I'd work I was on the evening menu for the comedy clubs at night. So I'd do my sets at about 11 and again at midnight or so. So I do stand up, and then I was studying acting, of course, and my guru was one of those voice of God guys, and some agents came to watch the thing, and they thought I had a quirky voice because I have a quirky voice. So they decided to send me out as a voiceover guy, and I didn't even know that existed. And the first job I auditioned for, I was a national for Campbell's Soup. And this is before internet and everything, before the Model T. And they had a traveling band from New York and went to New York to LA to Chicago to find this voice. And the audition was literally this. I've done it many times to demonstrate my skill. It was this. That was it. And so I got the gig.
But you must have done it just perfect.
I was like, who the hell couldn't do that? These guys wanted to go on just a drink junket from New York to LA to Chicago because they could have found anybody at a diner anywhere who could say after having their soup. It's like,
Well, acting's tough because you get that words in front of them and they're gonna freeze up and go,
yeah, or just completely. How do you screw it up? I don't think I gave them what they wanted. And since then, I played dogs who are happy about getting a treat, going yee, just and you realize how crazy the commercial voiceover business was. But I did a lot of that, a lot of on camera, And then when I was still tending bar, because I did real work, tending bar and all kinds of restaurant stuff, like 25 years. My overnight success took a long time. So Richard Ferrone, the late great Richard Ferrone, my dear friend, brought me into Recorded Books because they needed a youthful sounding guy with a quirky voice who was high energy. And there I was. So I got hired right away, started working at Recorded Books in, I think, 1991. And why I thought it was just another thing to do while I waited to become a famous second banana in a movie or something. And instead it became my everything. And since then it's been, I do other stuff. I still do stage and still do voice, but it's where I really live, I guess. It's what I really love it.
Yeah. What really led you to doing that? Obviously there was an opportunity there for you to do it. You just found you liked it, or was it something that
Well,
you really
I found it fit my schedule for everything. I could work schedules around it. It was a little different the way I got in because I knew a guy they needed, and they basically hired me right off the street. That just the opportunity like that doesn't exist anymore. But what I liked about it was the organic nature of it, the idea, the storytelling aspect, the idea that it was very much like a nice mix between film, which is big jazz hands and loud, but organic with the script, and in cinema and film acting, which is small and it was a mix of everything I'd learned and studied in my career coming together to just share the author's truth in a way that made it work. So I was it just worked for me. It's what I really found. I really enjoyed it. Sadly, it doesn't pay as much as other VO opportunities, but it certainly takes care of me. I mean, it's been very rewarding on every level, financially and otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people will use audiobooks when they're like between gigs and they got to fill the space there. And it's like, oh, I can do an audiobook. And then they try doing an audiobook and learn what's involved in doing that sort of thing.
I have a good voice, let's do it is just not, doesn't always work.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, our guest is Johnny Heller and his dogs. And
my wife just came home.
Yeah. And if you have a question for him, throw it in the chat room and we will get to your questions in just a little bit. But we got a lot to ask him, too. So perhaps we'll ask your question before you have a chance. But Jeff Holman is back there in the chat room writing everything down and passing that on to us. So you're doing audiobooks. And I take it that's the majority of the work that you're doing these days.
Right in between running my workshops, coaching, and audiobooks. But audiobooks is the major part of my day and my income, and it's still my joy. I mean, it's to do something. It's not hard to get up and go to work. Because I live in a Manhattan apartment with 2 rooms, and this booth is in one of them. So I get out of bed, and there's the booth. But I love what I do. I really, really, really every day is a chance to tell another story. To do another. One of the things I never, ever wanted to do was have a job I had to do to put food on the table. And I absolutely love what I'm doing. And I wish there was it's not bad money at all. I don't want to say that, but it's not commercial money. And there's rarely residuals unless you're doing an ACX or royalty share project. So that's why a lot of agents don't want this, but there's still good loot. You do a book, let's say you make $200 a finished hour. Well, a 10-hour book, that's $2,000. So I recommend that you don't do your own editing and mastering, and I promise you can't do your own proofing. But if you just do that, that's not a bad way to make a living. $200 an hour is nothing to,
Yeah.
How much do you like to do yourself? Like you said, don't proof yourself, which I've been telling people for years, don't self-proof.
Well, George, you're the tech. I'm not only I'm virulently opposed to tech. I don't understand it. I don't want to. I had some people. I had Zane Birdwell, is a great guy, and some other people come over at this house and plug all the crap in, and I don't know where things go, and I just want to hit the button that says record, and then here's what I do. Here's my job. In terms of tech, I hit the record button and I say what I want to say, and if I make a mistake, I do punch record, fix it, and when I'm done with that track, I hit consolidate and save. And then I go to the next track. And then when I'm done with that, I put it in whoever FTP, and I don't do another thing to send me retakes. I think the industry average in working is like 2 to 1, 2 hours in the booth for 1 finished hour. Now my rate is better than that. So
Yeah.
because it should be at this time anyway, but you can't proof yourself because you wouldn't say something wrong if you didn't know better. So, and people just didn't tell you that it's integral or integral. One's right, one's wrong. If you don't know, then get someone to proof the damn thing. And in terms of mastering and editing, I don't even know what that means. And if it's 2 to 1 just to record it, it's going to be 5 or 6 to 1 to do all that. Then there's a law of diminishing returns. Economics comes in, and you might as well be working at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I say let the tech geniuses, and God bless you all for being that, do their job. Pay them for it. You make more money paying someone else to do that stuff, and you go ahead and keep acting.
Yeah, it's time well spent, as George and I will attest to. It's like you get it right up front, you save a lot of work on the back end. Once again, we're talking to Johnny Heller. If you've got a question for him, throw it in the chat room right now. So, what is your typical workday like? I mean, you said you get up, you go into your booth. I assume you have coffee and
you want
hello to your wife.
Exactly. You don't want to know everything I do. I'll say
no.
Yeah. I walk the dogs. I have to make sure that I feel ready to work. I mean, I've been there's always something to do. That's one of the things when you have your own business, and everybody has to realize this is your business. This is who you are. There's always something to do. If you don't have a book, you have something to do. But there's always a book to prep, work to do. So I've got a little board outside this on the other side of Slow the Fuck Down. That's the other side of the wall is a board that's got all my books and Joanna's books, and we make sure we have time together time separately in the studio to work together. One studio, 2 actors. So I go in and I knock out. I schedule in my phone, my calendar. I schedule record. It'll say 11 to 3. Well, in there I know I'm going to have lunch. So let's say I'm in there, but I'm gonna get that's my work time. And if something comes up that interferes with that, I have to take the hour or the 15 minutes or 20 minutes I lost and reschedule it another time. I'm a big believer in writing your schedule down so you stick to it. I'm also a big believer in leaving your booth 5, 10, 15 minutes on every hour. Some people stand, some people sit. I sit, but you got to get up and move around. And also you got to get out of there. It's an unnatural thing to do what we do and to stay focused. I mean, if you're in the booth and you're getting hungry and you're thinking about lunch, then you're not in touch with what's happening in the story. So if you're thinking about a tuna melt, then you got to figure out where that started and go get a damn tuna melt and then come back. So you've got to be aware of what's happening body-wise. So my day is every day I'm in the studio 2 to 5 hours, depending on what kind of deadlines I have. Sometimes I do more than one book, not at the same time, but I'll do like a children's book in the morning and then take a lunch break and then go to the adult history in the afternoon or something. It just depends what I've scheduled myself for. A big part of the audiobook actor's day comes before the day starts in saying yes to projects and scheduling them in a way that makes sure you're going to be on time. Being late without excuse, sickness is an excuse. Being late without a fair excuse is problematic, and it's going to make sure you don't get hired again. My version of success in the industry is being hired twice by the same company or the same author. You know, it's not the Yelp. I mean, the Audible reviews. It's it's getting hired again. That means they believe. That means they like.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So what are you working on these days? What kind of projects are you working on? Now you do all sorts of genres because you do fiction, nonfiction.
Yeah, I'm kind of blessed to be able to do all. I do everything, which is wonderful. I'm not specialized. So I've been working on. I've got a bunch of new books coming up. I've got the Thomas Prescott series. It's a prequel to Nick Parag's wonderful character, Thomas Prescott. It's called The Numbers. I just got the prep for that. I'm working on book 9 or 10 of the Johnny Dixon mysteries, which is a YA teenage, kind of a Goosebumps. Remember Goosebumps books?
Oh, yeah.
I've done it's like Goosebumps, but Goosebumps for Catholics. So it's
define that.
It's really Catholic. And
okay.
Then it's wonderful characters, and so the characters have returned. It's like book 9. I think there's 10 of them. So that's through Blackstone. And then I've got some 08. You know the book, what's that book? Somebody went to Mars. John Carter goes to Mars. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah.
Those kind of books, those fantasy adventures like Jules Verne and Edgar Rice Burroughs did them. Right. Oasis Audio has me doing a couple of those coming up. I've got a private eye thing coming up. Gosh, and what is, there's something else, but I forgot what it was. I've got a bunch of things on the, a bunch of things lined up.
Yeah, it'll show up.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it'll show up when you get to your
yeah, when someone says, "Where's my book?" and I'll say, "Oh yeah,
that one." Yeah. Once again, we're talking with Johnny Heller about audiobooks. Now, you've been coaching a lot, and a lot of people know you as an audiobook coach primarily. How did you get into doing that?
That started. Let's see. I think in the early or mid 2000s or something. I can't quite remember. I was asked. Some people want to say, "Can you talk to us?" I think a group asked, "Can I talk to them about audiobooks?" And I've been going on the road for recorded books to libraries and doing readings and talking about audiobooks and sort of an ambassador. And then some people said, it came up, my first big word, I started coaching individually, and then people said, "Hey, would you do something? We're coming to town for the APA convention." And they asked if I would do something. They had a free day. Well, I think it was a Monday because APA was going to be on a Tuesday. This is 2015. And I did my first splendiferous workshop at the Beacon Hotel here in New York. It was so much fun. One of my workshop things is to make sure I have coaches. It's not the Johnny Heller show. It's Scott Brick, and it's Sean Pratt, and it's Joanna Perrin, and it's Carol Monda and Hillary Huber. I bring in big coaches, good people to share different things because I know what I think. I need to learn too. So I want to hear what the other people have to say. So since that, I've done a splendiferous workshop 1 or 2 or 3 a year, every year. And Scott Brick and I, he's involved in all of those things with me. He and I do our business workshop. This year will be we're not sure about the timing of any of that. We have the, should I plug these things now? Is it now?
Sure, the entire idea of our show is utterly shameless promotion.
Okay,
so
I'm going to utterly shamelessly
to talk about what you're doing.
Oh, here's what's coming up. Okay. In March, I think all of us will be at VO Atlanta, and then we ends on a Sunday, on the 25th. On the 26th, I think is APAC. On that night are parties and things. The next day, Tuesday, is a big SAG-AFTRA national meeting, so I don't want to compete with that. And that evening is the Audies, which is the award ceremony for the Audio Publishers Association Awards. I do something called the Naughties, which I've had for years, and it's just a party to come to because there's nothing to go for people who were in town for the convention but didn't have a place to party. So I happen to know bartenders and bars. You don't know why. So I put together the Naughties with Jeff Kafer and Melissa Exelbreth, and we started this thing, and it's been going great. So you get there on 7. It's going to be at Connolly's on 45th, as it always has. Get there on that Tuesday night. If you're going to the Audies, come after as the after party. If you're not going, come and enjoy yourself. I mean, it's buy what you want, drink what you want, eat what you want. And then after, it's all, you can dress like I'm dressed right now. And then afterward, the tuxedo and gown people come. So it's kind of fun. And then that Wednesday, the day after, I'm working on a venue to have a splendiferous workshop. I'm going to start it a little later at 10 o'clock because you can be hungover and probably will be. So I'll start at 10 and end around 4, and I might bring some publishers in for that. I haven't worked out the agenda because I'm still trying to lock down the space. I'm not sure how many people will be in the city for that, but we're going to do that. And then Sean Pratt and I, with Joanna Perrin frequently, and sometimes Anna Clement from Great Britain, go on the road. And we haven't decided the cities we're going to this year. We usually do 2 or 3 cities, take a fiction and nonfiction audiobook workshop on the road. And then in October, either October 16th or the week after, I'm not sure, we'll be back at the Warren Center in Framingham, Massachusetts, just outside Boston, for I think it's maybe the 9th New England Narrator Workshop, which is, you're there, we get there Monday, we're there Tuesday, Wednesday, we leave Thursday. Last year we had Penguin Random House publisher was with us, Macmillan was with us, Spectrum Audio was with us, and Dreamscape. So we have it's really wonderful time, and it's kind of like an Up With People camp with less singing.
I was
Although
going
we
to say,
didn't
what
karaoke
what goes
this year.
on at these workshops? I mean, you're just not sitting there
It
reading
starts out
books.
well. Monday's dinner and cocktailing. We do a listeners lounge every night, which is where I started that in the APAC some years ago, where I had some of the finest narrators in the land do their work, and they still carry on, but it's changed now. We have listeners on, people get to read their stuff. Then we do karaoke. In the meantime, there's a fire outside. There's a marijuana distributor right across the street. So there's partying happening. And then the next morning we begin with a panel. We have breakfast and a panel discussion. Then we break out into 4 or 5 different workshops. You pick what you want. Then there's lunch. And then we have directed readings with our coaches. And the publishers wander from directed reading to directed reading, listening to the various narrators do their stuff. And sometimes they give input, sometimes they don't. But a lot of people get work, or certainly get noticed. And there's always a chance to interact. And we spend this, because it's 3 or 4 days, you become friends with these people, which is so important, because people, actors put casting people and publishers and agents on these pedestals. And it's an unfortunate way the business has grown. No one belongs on a pedestal. And these people they don't want to be on a pedestal. They're regular. They want to talk. They want to meet. You have to understand, casting people want to know you. They want to cast you. They want to find you. They want to give you work, unless you suck, in which case they don't. But that only makes sense. So I just think that, and that's what's great about APAC too, frankly. It gives a lot of actors, especially newer people, a chance to meet people who can help them in their career, which can be their fellow actor as well.
Absolutely.
More often than not. I get a lot of work from fellow actors, and I've given a lot of work to my fellow actors.
Yeah, that's always great about it. I think it's one of the great things about the voice community is we really do network, and we really do look out for each other. And,
yeah, it's a fellowship. It's a community. And granted, there are people in it who are like, but by and large, it's I've ever been a part of such a swell group of humans, plain and simple.
Yeah. We're talking with Johnny Heller again. If you got a question, get it in the chat room right now. We will get to him in just those questions in just a little bit. Now, you were talking a little bit about relationships with publishers and authors. There are so many people trying to break into the audiobook business. George and I are constantly talking to people. Set up our studio. I'm doing audiobooks, and we're like, okay. And it's doing audiobooks, sonically can be a little bit different than doing voiceover because of, as you were saying, there's a lot of post stuff that you have to know how to do. But if someone's trying to break in, what are some basic steps that somebody should do in order to say, I want to do audiobooks and try and dive into the pool?
Well, for one thing, you need to research the industry a little bit. The notion that, everybody said you had a good voice, you should do audiobooks it's unfair to everybody who does this. Research, know a little, listen to a damned audiobook. Sean Pratt has a little video on YouTube, and basically he tells you to go in a closet and read for a couple hours. There's something to be said for that. You have to be able to sustain your connection with the material and with the story for a prolonged period. Now, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but commercial voiceovers, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds. That's how long you're doing the spot. And you have to be connected for that much time. Well, extend that to, a 10-hour book or a 15-hour book or however long it is. You have to be completely in the author's head. His words or her words have to go through you as a conduit to their truth. It just has to happen. I believe that what you need to do is, one, recognize it as acting. As a matter of fact, recognize every single voiceover genre you've ever heard of as acting, because it is. And if you're not willing to accept that, then maybe you need to reconsider the whole idea. Also, start thinking about the fact that no matter whether it's e-learning, telephony, whatever it is, it's not necessarily easy money. There's talent, there's skill, there's training. Get some training. If you've never had it, get some. Here's the deal. There's just a boatload of books out there. Tons and tons, and there's plenty of work for you. I would say, what's the APA came out with some numbers not long ago about the percentage of books that actually get produced in audio. And the audio, when I started, was a multi-million-dollar business. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar business, but there's a lot of books that never ever get picked up. So if you get to meet an author, let's say George wrote a book, you know, my life riding bikes in LA canyons.
Never gonna happen.
They may not be interesting to anyone but George, but I bet there are people who like it, and he wants me to do it. So he and I here's a guy who says, how do I get it to, I've had authors come to me a lot. How do I get my book in audio? Because every artist, every filmmaker, everybody who makes art wants their art to be seen. And not every bit of art is great. Not every story is great. But the listener can never, ever suspect that you, the narrator, don't like the story.
It's just like getting a role in a film and you read the script and you're like, how did this get, or you see a movie and you go, how did this get made?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you think, because to somebody, it's the best movie they've ever made.
Yes, yeah.
Right? And
It's
for,
the best
for an
thing
author,
ever, yeah.
it's the best book they've ever written. And
Of all the Trauma Team releases, one of them is her favorite.
Trauma, yes. Trauma films.
Yeah. Well, it's just important. A lot of people don't take this seriously. You can't say, I'm having a hard time acting. I think I'll take an audiobook on. Excuse me. And that's just not how it works. Pardon me. It's a craft. Acting is a craft. And I recommend everybody who does it. I think everybody, no matter who you are, you should take an improv or a scene study class. Everybody. The same way I think if you want to go to a restaurant, you should work for a week in a restaurant.
One's too young to start with taking classes of that nature.
In terms of acting, I don't know when's too young. In terms of audiobook, hard to say. It's not my nature to teach kids because I have signs up like that. I work a little blue sometimes, so I don't. I'm not comfortable. Yeah. I'm not comfortable. So I would say, if you're gifted, and not just because your mom told you, if you're gifted, high school, because there are a lot of roles. Like when I started, I did a lot of little kid roles. Well, a little kid might be better at that. Certainly now that I'm an old man, they better have a little kid. But you think about, certainly in college, I mean, I don't, there's no like 18, you can vote, you can drink, you can do audiobooks. Right. I don't know what I don't know what it should be, but I think you need to be, but it's a serious craft. It takes dedication and a real lot of work. So you have to love literature for one thing. You really do. You got to love it because, gosh, there's a lot of books that aren't, you think, why? Who gave this asshole a typewriter? So you got to, but that can't come out in your reads.
Absolutely.
I'll be happy to dump on authors later, but not now.
Yeah. Once again, we're talking with Johnny Heller, and we're going to take a little break right now, and we'll be back. If you got a question, again, throw it in the chat room. We got lots of them to get to, so we'll see you in just a minute. Johnny Heller here on VoiceOver Body Shop. We'll be right back.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on the VoiceOver Body Shop.
It's the holiday season, and if you're a voice talent, not everyone in your family or close friends really understands what you want for your home voiceover studio.
You want a what?
Well, VoiceOverEssentials.com has the perfect solution, the VoiceOver Essentials gift card. It's the perfect answer when you get that "you want a what?" question. You pick the amount you want to give, and they take care of the rest. The recipient will receive their digital gift card and a gift code to use for anything they offer at VoiceOverEssentials.com. Like the Harlan Hogan VO1A microphone, the Portabooth Pro or Plus, Harlan Hogan's Signature Series VoiceOver Optimized headphones.
You want a what?
Go to VoiceOverEssentials.com and click on Shop and Gift Cards and choose the amount. Give them or give yourself the gift of getting exactly what you want. Gift cards now at VoiceOverEssentials.com.
Well, it definitely is time to save money, right? Everybody knows that. Well, here is a company that I never thought would ever have a Black Friday sale, and that is our longtime sponsors, Source Elements, the creators of Source Connect. That's right. They are offering some of their software packages or softwares at some pretty steep discounts. So a lot of you are probably already aware of the fact that they have subscriptions. This is not going to be for subscriptions. This is for people that are like, I've been paying for the subscription for 4 or 5 years. I just want to have the license now. I don't want to keep paying a subscription. And a lot of folks feel that way. This is probably for you. They are offering Source Connect certificates and courses with some discounts. So if you want to actually go through some formalized training from the team at Source Elements, and you really want to understand how that software works in your studio and have a better understanding of, just feel more prepared when a Source Connect session happens, they're offering those with some discounts, 40% off in some cases. They have Source Connect upgrades at a fair deal. There's a lot of offers here, and it literally is, and as it says here, first ever Black Friday sale in 17 years that they've done it. But anyway, if you want to get tuned in, just go to source-elements.com, and these deals literally do end today on Black Friday. So you got to jump on it. Anyway, thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show right after this.
Hey there, I'm David H. Lawrence, the 17th, and with my company VO Heroes and my team of coaches and my community of voiceover talent, we guide voiceover actors along their journey. And you may be watching VOBS here and not nearly as far along as many of the other people who are watching. You may not even have started yet. And we actually specialize in helping you do just that. So if you're watching all the stuff going on here on VOBS and going, I have no idea what they're talking about, I don't know, but I really want to do this, I'd really like to help you. Please go to voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start. And you can take our Getting Started in Voiceover class, which tells you everything you need to get started as a voice talent. And I'd love to hold your hand along the way and help you with that journey. Again, voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start.
This is Bill Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
And we're back with Johnny Heller. We got a pile of questions. You have a lot of
sure
fans,
do.
clearly.
Yeah.
I have a lot of what?
You have a lot of fans.
Yeah, come on with you.
Alrighty. First question from Laura Patenkin. George, you got the questions.
Yeah, she says, Johnny, what are the best ways to acquire work from the big 5 publishers?
Well,
That's like the how do you get an agent question.
Yeah. Well, you should marry one of the people who work there. There's a number of ways. First off, they are always looking for new talent. I know for a fact that Penguin Random House has ahabtalent.com, where you put up your profile like you do on ACX, and they have auditions that are supposed to be sorted to meet your profile. I'm not sure it's not as tight as it ought to be, because I know I get a lot of opportunities to audition as a young Kenyan girl and weird stuff like that. But there's that. I know that on Clubhouse you'll find the Penguin Random House, and I think HarperCollins sometimes does live things you can get involved. If you're in social media, and you kind of need to be, even though I know it's problematic, a lot of the publishers casting people are there. Also, go to their website. They'll tell you on the website how to reach them. Do what they say. When you reach out to big publishers or any publisher, anybody who can cast you, you want to be the answer to their problems. You don't want to create new problems. So talk to them and reach out to them in the way you'd like to be reached out to if you were them. They're all nice people. But the biggest thing, make a list and also take a look at what's in their catalog. So you see the kind of work they're doing and say, hey, I saw you guys did this book. I love that book. If you have anything like it, on my website, on my demo, I've got something that I think you might enjoy, and link them right to that place. That's okay. Just, so make something, make a difference, make yourself known. Don't be a pain in the ass. And when you are, it. And you want to, on your website, this is super important. You got to have your demos up there. The link, if you're going to go to Dan Leonard Publishing, and you said, Mr. Leonard, I want you to go to my site and tell me what you think of my demos. And he goes to the site, and he's got to go through all your high school baton twirling championship ring and stuff. He doesn't want to see that. You get him right to where the demos are. It should be one damn link to bam, and there you are. If he wants to go back and read about your accolades and your Boy Scout merit badges, swell. But get him right to all the demos. That's important. So, and the publishers are also available. A reason to join the APA, especially, it's better. It's really a good organization if you're starting out. I'm going to be honest about that. They do have speed dating, which is you don't necessarily get picked. I think it's a raffle, but you get a chance to be heard by a whole bunch of these people. And going to some of these meetings now that we've pretended we've defeated COVID, we're all meeting up again. So we can go to APAC and all these other, and everybody's there. Everybody's there. And if you want to meet them, go meet them. And don't be so big on giving out your card. Be big on getting theirs.
That's great
Good
advice.
point.
Absolutely great advice. And if you need a good demo player, we have a free demo player at worldvoices.org, which all members get, and it works. Just click on the link and there's all your demos.
That's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Kate Wisniewski, those
Well
of us
said.
from Buffalo would say it. She says, I've narrated a few books and I'm on the rosters of Blackstone, B Audio, Diane, and get auditions from them occasionally. I'm also consistently auditioning via ACX. What are other places I should be submitting auditions?
Well, I'm not sure where all the auditions per se are listed. I know that Dreamscape has a portal, but it's by invitation. Macmillan has a portal by invitation. So you need to reach out to some of the casting people to see. Yeah, one of the ways to find places, I know, I'll tell you exactly what you should do. Spectrum Audiobooks, a smaller house that I work for a lot. It's Annalise Rennie. Her name's Kelly Wren, and that's Kelly. They're always looking for good people. My friend Sarah Puckett has Pink Flamingo. They put their auditions on Facebook, on their groups. They're there. If you're looking for people to hire, they're there. And all these people, by the way, almost every publisher, big or small, does the SAG-AFTRA contract minimum. And so you're going to make enough. You're going to make a reasonable amount of money. Understand that when you take a gig, particularly on ACX, it's just a warning sign, take what you want, but you can negotiate your salary. Even if it's a royalty share, you can say, look, it's a royalty share. I know that George is getting 20%, I'm getting 20%, and Jeff Bezos is getting 60% because the work he did to help us. But you can say, George, it's your book. It's your book about you riding your bicycle in the canyons. Would you pay my friend Dan Leonard, the engineer, to master the thing? It's going to cost $500. But I can't do that. He says, sure. So George sends Dan the $500. You just act. You get paid. You get your royalty share, whatever you agreed to. While Dan's busy mastering, you go on to another project. It's another reason you've got to get people who know. You don't have to wear 17 hats. Not every actor is a singer and a dancer. So you don't have to be a great actor and a great audiobook master. I don't even know what those guys do. I know that I don't know how to do it, but I know you can't. The book can't go out to the public until somebody does it. Mm-hmm. So whatever that step is, hire the people who know how to do it, for God's sakes.
Actually,
I went off on a tangent.
Leads into another question. When you submit the 15-minute samples, are you having somebody prep that before you send it in, or do
the
you even
15 minutes? Oh, for ACX.
Yeah. Are you? Because I'm telling people that they should be mastered the same way as any other.
Well,
chapter, right?
To be honest, I'm be fair. I don't do a lot of ACX stuff anymore.
Yeah.
What I did do and what I would do right now, if I did an ACX, I would do the audition and I would hit that consolidate and get rid of the stuff. And I'd send. What you do is I would take that. I'd do my punch record and make it as nice as I can, but I wouldn't put it through any processing. I would just send an MP3 of that to the auditor. I don't know if I'd spend the time or money to have my audition mastered because a lot of times, certainly publishers, and I don't know about ACX rights holders, want to hear what the raw audio sounds like too. What your booth sounds like with the sound. So if you put it through all your stuff, again, I don't know what I'm talking about. If you put it through all your stuff, I think it may change what it is. And so I don't know if I'd go through that process. And I don't like spending money on auditioning personally. I don't mind spending time, but I don't want to spend money.
Yep.
But if you have someone who's willing to master it for nothing, why not? But I think they prefer it not, which is unlike the finished product.
Right. They want to hear
the finished product.
They want to hear if you can relate the story, and
they want to know if you can do the job. They want to hear the voice. They want to hear what you do, how you tell the story. Exactly right, Dan.
Yeah. George?
Jeff Holman, our very own, he says, if you're narrating a nonfiction audiobook, do you have to read the whole book beforehand like when you would with a fiction book?
That's a great question. And it's I think when you become skilled at doing all these kind of things, it kind of depends on the nature of the book. If it's an I'm okay, you're not psychological thing, or how to be a better marketer in 10 weeks or something. In general, those books are set up. The introduction tells you what's going to happen, and you have an idea. The official answer is, yeah, you got to read it. Unofficially, if you have a schedule, you can kind of, if it's a nonfiction, generally in those kinds of books, I understand you're hurting. Let me help you through the hurt, that kind of stuff. It's a repetition of this thing until it finally sinks into the listener's mind. And so you can probably escape reading all of it. You need to go through it or something. I'm also going to recommend, if you don't feel like reading the book, then hire a prepper. There are such things, and they're totally wonderful. I know a bunch of them, and I use them. In fiction, you have to read the whole thing, I believe. I've hired a prepper to help me with a book that I've got a bit of a hurry on, but I'm still reading it. I want her input, I'm in the same place, but I need to read it so I know what happens, because in a story, you need to know what goes on. And if the nonfiction book is military history or autobiography, yeah, you got to read it, because that reads very much like nonfiction.
Yep, absolutely. Catherine Jade Jarvie asks, how do you find the balance in acting for audiobooks? She says, I feel like sometimes I lean into acting without doing voices or anything than may be desired. Do you have any input for this? And is she overthinking it?
I'm not certain I understand the question, to be fair, and I don't want to mislead her. She's saying that she's concerned that she's overacting?
I guess overacting.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. Thanks for the chance to ask the question. How do you find the balance in acting for audiobook? I feel sometimes I lean more into acting, in quotes, without doing voices or anything than may be desired. Well, I think if you feel here's one of the big things. You know the John Lovitz when he goes acting and he does that kind of thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Every single time, and I'm guilty of it. I bet you guys are too. Every single time an actor comes in to talk to me, they talk just like this. Hey, George. Hey, Dan. Hey, Johnny. Then we talk. We have a little chat. Okay, let's go ahead and audition now. You come into the room and all of a sudden there's this new fucking guy. Where did that come from? And it's that. And I think that we have to work against that. And I think that kind of bullshit acting takes you out of the moment. I think you need to settle on the idea that almost all of the audiobook acting we do, and almost all acting in general, here's what you need to think about. In audiobook acting, this is probably the answer. In audiobook acting, there's a tendency to think of it as theatrical because it's a script and it's a story, and that's what theater is. And sometimes there's a director, and that's what theater is. And you, for once in your life, get to play all the parts. You're King Lear, and you're Lady Macbeth. You're everybody. The thing is, unlike theater, there's no jazz hands. There's no singing out Louise. There's no row double J. You have this wonderful microphone who is your audience, and that's who you're playing to. So it becomes, the idea is small. The idea is less is more. So it is acting, but it's film acting.
Mm-hmm.
I believe audiobooks are cinematographer's kind of acting. It's a cinema experience. I think the author, if it's fiction or nonfiction, uses words like a painter uses color to create a scene. The author creates a scene with his words, and the job of the actor is to see the scene. And I think reading is like a film. That's why when you're reading, if it's I'm okay, you're okay, or you're Hogwarts, whatever it is, you're lost in that world. So George, it's dinner time. George, it's dinner time. Oh, okay. Sorry, I was lost in Hogwarts because you're in that other world. I think the actor needs to create that other world. And I don't think it's with big movements and big acting things. It's much smaller. There's reactions. Pardon me. Audiobooks need to understand there's a time to react. Someone says something. I never want to see you again. What? And that beat, that little pause between that and that, which is human nature, they want to get rid of it because it's dead space on the tape, on the wave file. That's acting. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I think that you're overacting if you seem big, if you seem like you're in the Broadway show of Gypsy, you're doing too much.
It's voice under, not voice over.
I'd say, oh, George, perfect. I love that. I'm stealing that.
Voice
I'm
overacting.
Aren't I stealing that from Shatner or something? I swear I heard him say that.
Maybe sabotage. Maybe you are.
This one's from Patricia Andrea. She said, I tried LibriVox to do a tiny chapter of a book, but it had quite a few characters and mostly men. How do you decide not to make weird voices? If there are no requirements to do voices, how do you remind yourself if you do a voice, or how do you refrain from doing a voice? That whole last part's in a parenthesis, but there's no closed parentheses, so I don't know what to do now. I'm lost.
Carry on, George. I think the answer is in the question. You're not doing a voice, you're playing a character. I believe, and this is what I teach all the time, characters you have to cast the character from your frame of reference. We've all been to grade school and high school and then maybe further schooling, and we've all worked in a place or that place. We've met people, we have families, we've seen film and television. All those people we've seen can be characters in our book. So let's say that so-and-so says, you know, it'd be great at that. It's Dan Leonard. I can see, now I'm not going to do a Dan Leonard impersonation, but if I picture Dan Leonard as my guy, I'm going to give it a different read than if I pictured Benedict Cumberbatch. You know what I mean? So I think you need to cast your characters from your frame of reference. I don't think, and I think you need to understand that. Sorry?
Are you saying there's a difference
between
Benedict,
Dan Leonard, yes. Only in the Sherlock Holmes portrayal.
Okay,
Other than that,
Yeah,
it's
it's
exactly
fine.
the same guy. Yeah. Yes. Certainly in the Enigma Code, he was definitely Dan. I saw Dan Leonard. A lot of times I got confused because of that.
Yeah, I'm more the Watson type.
Yes. But I think you need to be understand that a character is based on who he is, not just a weird voice. You build it from the inside out, not the outside in. And I just think also you can understand that different character, you can change your voice. You can be quieter or louder or slower or faster, or pace it faster, just 1,000 different things to change your voice. When someone calls you on the phone, of course, now it says George, the text calling, but George sounds different than Dan, who sounds different than Johnny, who sounds different than Sue, than anybody, So you can what makes somebody different? Some people take a long time to speak. Just play the character. The voice will be there. And we already suspended our belief. You don't have to worry about, I know you're a female playing a male. I know you're not a male. I'm willing to believe you're everybody. It's okay. Carry on. Tell the story.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about audiobooks, especially when you hear a great narrator like you or Scott Brick or some of the others, where you just get totally drawn in and the whole thing is in your mind and you can follow along, and that's really great. Terry Briscoe asks, have you ever tried or ever had a book that took longer than expected because it hit close to home and it was emotionally draining?
Oh, Lord. Yeah, sure. Yes. There are many, especially if you're in the moment. I did Marley and Me. And it took, you know what happened. So it took probably 12 to 14. It took at least 2-3 hours for me to do the close of the chapter where Marley passes away. Because when you're crying, no one can understand you. So it's important to play the emotion, but you still need to be heard. And also almost a lot of when I started in the business, I did a lot of coming of age books. And in most of those books, the authors had it in their mind that a child, a young adult a teen cannot become an adult. unless their mom, their dad, their best friend, their brother, or their dog died. So it's always heartbreaking. And in any book, in any story, when a character you like, that you really enjoy, passes away, however it is, the death of someone that you care about, it is an emotional moment for you. So yeah, and in many books, it's been difficult for me, but that's also the joy of acting, to get through those things and move on, because it's acting is real life magnified.
Absolutely.
Right.
You
George.
get one more in?
Yeah, we got time for one or two more. Sure.
This one's from Maple J. Julie from YouTube. How long does it take to do the audio for a book? I have a problem of reading a book cover to cover. I think that's the 2-to-1 ratio you were talking about.
Yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
right?
Usually so if the audiobook is a 10-hour book, assume that the actor spent 20 hours doing it. So it's 2-to-1 is the industry average. Again, there are people who work a little slower, work a little faster. As long as you get your book in by the deadline, and I'm always early. I insist on being early, but always get it in by the. I'll give a little note. First off, I forget Miss Maple. I forget Maple Joe.
Maple J.
You need to start reading a book cover to cover, because otherwise you don't know how it ends. Which is, what's the point? The other thing is, if you have a book and the publisher says, "Let's get it in. I need it on Friday," I'm going to tell you, they're not in the office on Friday. They're not. So say to them in the negotiation, and you're allowed to say, "Look, that Friday's perfect, but you know what? Would it be okay if, say you're not in on Friday, because Friday's all day, if when you get into the office on Monday, it's in your files. Now you've bought yourself Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to finish the book in case you need it, and you're still in deadline. So you want to shoot for a Friday deadline and then extend it to the Monday morning. It gives you 3 days and doesn't do a thing to their schedule. I promise you, if it got there Friday, it's not going through their mastering stuff and proofing stuff that weekend. It isn't, in most cases anyway. So you can certainly, and that's just it just gives you an extra 3 days on your schedule.
All right.
Johnny, little pro tip.
Yeah. Well, and thank you for
We've
those
had a
pro
lot
tips.
of those tonight. Thanks.
Yeah, this has been just golden this hour. We really appreciate you being with us, Johnny. Again, if people want to get a hold of you for coaching and maybe attend one of your workshops, where do they go?
That's it.
There you go. Right. Well, that was easy.
JohnnyHeller.com for the podcast listeners out there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing that you can remember everything in order from all your workshops, but you don't know what book you're doing next. So,
I know what book I'm doing now, but I know I'm leaving one out. There's 4 or 5 on my board, and I can't remember which one I'm leaving out. I'm super on American history, but shitty on my history.
Love doing the narrative for American history. Anyway, Johnny, thanks so much for being with us. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you next time when we cross paths.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
See you, buddy.
Thank
Alrighty.
you. Nice to see you, fellas.
Alrighty.
I have no idea how to get out of here.
Well, we'll figure it out. George and I will be right back after this to wrap things up.
You're still watching VLBS?
In these modern times, every business needs a website. When you need a website for your voice acting business, there's only one place to go. Like the name says, voiceactorwebsites.com. Their experience in this niche webmaster market gives them the ability to quickly and easily get you from concept to live online in a much shorter time. When you contact voiceactorwebsites.com, their team of experts and designers really get to know you and what your needs are. They work with you to highlight what you do. Then they create an easily navigable website for your potential clients to get the big picture of who you are and how your voice is the one for them. Plus, VoiceActorWebsites.com has other great resources, like their practice script library and other resources to help your voiceover career flourish. Don't try it yourself. Go with the pros. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
Your dynamic voiceover career requires extra resources to keep moving ahead. There's one place where you can explore everything the voiceover industry has to offer. That place is voiceoverextra.com. Whether you're just exploring a voiceover career or a seasoned veteran ready to reach that next professional level, stay in touch with market trends, coaching, products, and services while avoiding scams and other pitfalls. VoiceOver Extra has hundreds of articles, free resources, and training that will save you time and help you succeed. Learn from the most respected talents, coaches, and industry insiders when you join the online sessions, bringing you the most current information on topics like audiobooks, auditioning, home studio setup and equipment, marketing, performance techniques, and much more. It's time to hit your one-stop daily resource for voiceover success. Sign up for a free subscription to newsletters and reports. It's all here at voiceoverextra.com. That's voiceoverextra.com.
Yeah, hi, this is Carlos Alazraqui, the voice of Rocco, and you're watching VoiceOver Body Shop.
And we're back. Next week on this very show, we will have Tech Talk number 91. Believe it or don't.
There seems to always be more tech.
I know. Well,
we've
got lots to talk about tonight, too. So,
yeah.
Now, if you want to watch Tech Talk live, you can hang out for a little bit, and you can ask your questions, and then you can be part of the show, and then we'll play it next week. But we're also going to do it live right after we finish with this hour, so now's the time.
All makes perfect sense.
Once you get into it, I mean, most of you know the show. We know how we do this.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got some webinars coming up?
Yeah, I've got, on the paid stuff, I do have a webinar that's the Adobe Audition Advanced course, where I get to go deeper into multi-track and get into some more tricks. That's on November 30th. You can sign up at georgethe.tech/webinars. You can get 10% off of that by typing in VOBSFan10 in the coupon code area. And lastly, in the free side of things, on Tuesday, tomorrow, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything on Clubhouse, which I do the last Tuesday of the month, every month. Again, that's on Clubhouse. Just look for George the Tech on Clubhouse. All righty. And we've got lots of donors. People, you can, look, if you want to help support the show, we really appreciate it. It makes the technical end of this so much easier when we have the stuff that we need to do it. And we appreciate everybody who donates to us, like Robert Leadham, Stephen Chandler, Casey Clack, Jonathan Grant, Tom Pinto, Greg Thomas, A Doctor Voice, Antland Productions, Martha Kahn, 949 Designs, Christopher Epperson, Sarah Borges, Philip Sapir, Brian Page, Patty Gibbons, Rob Ryder, Shauna Pentington Baird, Don Griffith, Trey Mosley, Diana Birdsall, and Sandra Manwiller. Hey, you can join our mailing list, too, so you know who's coming up on the show. And you can do that at our website, vobs.tv, and click on subscribe, and we'll get you on the list there. We need to thank our sponsors, of course. Harlan Hogan's VoiceOver Essentials, VoiceOver Extra, Source Elements, VOHeroes.com, VoiceActorWebsites.com, and World-Voices.org, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. Our thanks to Jeff Holman for getting all those questions to us in the chat room, and Sue Merlino for great direction, and of course Johnny Heller for what a great hour of tips that he gave us, and of course Lee Penny just for being Lee Penny. All right, well, we're going to re-rack it and get ready for Tech Talk, so don't go away. And remember, this is not an easy business. But when it comes to your audio, if it sounds good, it is good. I'm Dan Leonard. And I'm George Whittam. And this is VoiceOver Body Shop, or VOBS. Have a good week, everybody. Later. Alrighty. Lots of tech stuff to talk about tonight. So this is going to be lots of fun because this is our monthly, our bi-monthly poker game
to shoot the poop about what's going on out there in the voiceover technical world.
I know. The more I was like, oh my God, there's that too. Oh, and I got to talk about this. Oh, geez, there's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna have to fly. I have to go fast.
Okay. No, and then I've got a demonstration I want to do tonight that you're not going to want to miss. And so let's get that rolling. Are we ready, Ms. Director?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Okay. Hey, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
Oh, yeah. I'm supposed to make
Tech
echo
Talk.
sounds with
Techo
my face.
Talk. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
And it's Tech Talk number 91.
Woo!
Believe it or not, 91 episodes, jam-packed with more tech information than you would ever possibly need to know. So, hold on one second.
Hopefully some of it's useful too.
Yeah, really. Yeah, most of it I think people find pretty useful. Anyway, but we're going to have some tech talk, and we've got demonstrations, and of course your questions, which you can ask, like if you were joining us with Johnny Heller last week. You can ask them live in our chat room, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube.
Yep.
And George and I will answer those questions about the amazing variety of things that can go wrong or that you want to know about when it comes to home voiceover studio audio. Are we ready?
Let's do this.
It's time for VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk right now. Tech Talk. Brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, the home of Harlan Hogan's signature products. Source Elements, the makers of Source Connect. VoiceOver Heroes. Become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your voice actor website doesn't have to be a pain in the butt. VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for voiceover success. And World Voices, the industry association of freelance voice talent. And now, here's your hosts, Dan and George. Ah, yes. Hi, I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
or VO BS. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Well, you got to know something about the voiceover business, and that is that most people don't understand the technology at all. We had Johnny Heller on last week, and he's like, I don't know any of this stuff. And this guy is like a superstar in the voiceover world, and especially in the audiobook world. You know, I don't know any of this stuff. It's like, I think the majority, George, don't know exactly what's going on because they're like, I want to be an actor. I want to be a voice actor. I want to do all this great stuff, but I got to have all this tech. Yeah. And it's not really rocket science. But
it's just overwhelming. The sources of information people are getting are very confusing, sometimes conflicting, sometimes just dead on wrong.
Dead wrong, yeah.
And it's very challenging. That's the problem. We will not make it challenging for you. We will demystify and simplify and get you to the answers you need fast.
So you don't get stupefied. There's a lot of stuff you got to know. Fortunately, there are those of us that actually know exactly what it's supposed to sound like and how to produce that sound in your home voiceover studio. Mm-hmm. And that's what George and I do almost full time. I'm still a voice actor and I'm still president of WOBO and all these other things that I do. But I really enjoy doing all the tech stuff. And George does it full time, and it's what he lives. It's what he bleeds. When he goes rolling down a hill on his bike and falls off, it bleeds voiceover technology. So, if they want to work with you, George, where do they go?
They're going to go over to georgethe.tech, and that's my world for voiceover technology support, free information, lots and lots of free resources, and ways to hire us for tech support on demand or offline, like just maybe a plain old sound check where I listen to your audio and give you notes about technical issues, which is really the cornerstone of what we do. Dan, you do the same thing basically right over at
homevoiceoverstudio.com. And if you go there, you find my specimen collection cup, and I will listen to your audio for $25, and I will give you a very thorough analysis of how to do that. Plus, if you do a consultation with me, a full hour and a half, you'll get more than just voiceover tech. I will teach you the basics of how to get it done right. And then I'll throw something else in there that people will like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Because I've met a lot of interesting people doing a lot of interesting stuff who want to get into voiceover. And it's like, well, what were you doing before? And, that sort of thing. And we got into some very interesting conversations that will help you push your career forward. So go on over to homevoiceoverstudio.com and check out the services that I offer over there. Well, I have to start off our tech segment with a poem.
Oh.
Believe it or not. Now, there was an issue that came up over the weekend while we were all digesting, leftover turkey. And it was someone named Julie had a problem with Twisted Wave, and she contacted everybody. But
she was panicking, apparently.
Yeah, she was really panicking. But she wrote this very interesting poem, which I promised her I would read on the show.
Cool.
It says, "Thanks for the giving. 'Twas 2 days past post-turkey when I in my booth went to save as like I usually do. This pop-up continued denying my save regardless of dozens attempts that I made. I panicked, inhaled, and said, hey, okay, man, chill the fuck out and write anyone you can. On Highland, Jen Henry, on JMC2, on Facebook, on YouTube, what else can I do? Email Dan Leonard, which he did. Search troubleshoot galore. Move on to Jim Edgar, whom I'd not met before. Brad found Uncle Roy, who gracefully called, removed my software, and then reinstalled. Try now, Unc Roy said. To VO gods I prayed, then yelling with joy, it worked! It is saved! But then later on, other emails came through, trying to help, seeing what they could do. Dan Leonard, Jim Edgar, these guys wrote me back just 2 days post-turkey to their day 2 chillax. Twisted Wave themselves wrote me about a bug that was stinging us, Wavers, but now taken care of. Why all these people, so willing and kind, jumping to help me not lose my mind. It's just like I've heard about VO peeps. They're nice and they care in bounds and in leaps. Can't thank you enough, each giver of time, of knowledge, of context. Hey, this thing rhymes. You peeps out there doing VO for a living, thank you for caring, and thanks for giving.
Wow. That was freaking awesome.
I got to read that on the show.
Yeah, it's fantastic. That covers one of my stories, too.
I know. Well, that was part of the story about the problem with Twisted Wave. But thanks to Julie Savatier for that. I really appreciate that. So what do you got in your update this week?
Well, I thought I would start with a quick little show and a hear and tell, actually, and let you hear.
Good.
So, the new technology this year to me has really been anything relating to using any AI systems. And so AI is just such a buzzword now, right? But it's basically machine learning, which means that you're using computers to learn patterns, learn things in the way more like a person would. Like, oh, I've heard that before. That's familiar to me. As opposed to just looking at, well, the sound's louder than this threshold, so I will do this. AI, right? So there are a lot of tools now that use AI. They may not promote heavily using the buzzwords AI, but they're being used behind the scenes on different levels. And so I thought I would just compare some sound samples using these tools to remove noise, right? The number one thing we all shudder about in a home studio is noise. So first I captured some audio in a typical fashion here in Venice where I live of the effing airplanes that fly over. And I'm not going to play the entire minute and a half long sample because that's literally how long it took for this stupid small aircraft to clear. But here's what it sounded like in the raw form. And by the way, just for fun, I started off the sample with the sound of me slamming my office door, okay? So I'll play like 10 to 20 seconds. Here we go. Here's what the raw audio sounded like. And just because I can, I'll let you see what it actually looks like on screen at the same time. Okay, so here's the beginning sample. Let's just play the beginning, and here we go. I'll turn off my mic so you don't hear any other room noise. Let's just make some random noises. All right, this is most actors' worst nightmare. Small aircraft noise flying overhead, obviously completely ruining a take. Unless you have Extract Dialogue by Acon Digital or Clarity Waves VX. You decide which one does a better job. You get the idea. That plane goes on for a minute and a half, right? While I sit here fuming about it. Okay, so I've got 3 tools. I just did 2, and then I threw the last one in just to see. I used Acon, which is spelled ACON, Extract Dialogue. That's the name of the plugin. It's catchy, right? I used Acon Digital, Extract Dialogue. I used Waves Clarity VX, which I know you've heard me talk about on the show. And I used Isotope RX9's Music Rebalance, which it didn't even occur to me to think to use it like this, but somebody else pointed out that you could use it to extract dialogue from a mix, or in this case, from noise. So I tried all 3, including with the door slam, to see what it would do with that. Well, here's the first, let's say 20 seconds, same amount of time using these 3 different tools. So first is using Acon Extract Dialogue. Random noises. So you remember, right before I said that, I slammed my office door. So Acon just completely removed the door slam 100%. Okay, here's my dialogue. All right, this is most actors' worst nightmare. Small aircraft noise flying overhead, obviously completely ruining a take. Unless you have Extract Dialogue by Acon Digital or Clarity Waves VX. Pretty good, but I'm still picking up some hints of that.
Plane is in there.
It's kind of like at the end of the word when the gate, I call it a gate, but it's not really what it is, but it's when it releases the processing is where you sort of really pick up on it, right? So I thought, okay, that's cool. I'd never used the tool before. Well, let's compare it to what I thought was really the ultimate tool for this kind of stuff. This is now Waves Clarity VX. Just make some random noises. So the door shutting was just like a click.
Yeah.
All right, this is most actors' worst nightmare. Small aircraft noise flying overhead, obviously completely ruining a take. Unless you have Extract Dialogue by Acon Digital or Clarity Waves VX. You decide which one does a better job. Now, that one was interesting because it got progressively better over time, right?
I noticed that.
Sort of as it learned my voice pattern, it kind of like started getting better and better. So, theoretically by the end, it would be even better. Let's see if jumping to the end here. A full minute and a half later, I can still hear the plane. All right, it slowed down. It's now leveled, so now it's quiet. Okay, so and that's, by the way, I should have told you, I maxed out the settings on these things, right? So normally, artifacts would be a big problem, right? You'd hear all kinds of weird swooshing and waterfall effects and stuff. I had these all the way turned up to see what they can do. All right, now we'll try rebalance. Remember, this is designed to separate out, say, vocals from drums and bass and other instruments, right? So let's see what it does with this in this experiment. Let's just make some random noises. That was the weird sound that the door made. So let's hear my voice. All right, this is most actors' worst nightmare. Small aircraft noise flying overhead, obviously completely ruining a take. Unless you have Extract Dialogue by Acon Digital. So the takeaway there is that gave you all of the weird artifacts and the airplane sounds. So that didn't work at all. So I don't know, whoever's recommended that to me as a tool, it's definitely not what it's all that it's cracked up to be. So I guess the point of this experiment is to show you that, one, nothing beats soundproofing the correct way, because all of these tools did varying degrees of a decent job. They have somewhat unpredictable results because it's AI and not just algorithms, sometimes they behave differently based on the situation. So it's a little bit less predictable what they're going to do. But I was surprised. I thought Acon Extract Dialogue was pretty darn strong for a tool that's not really been talked about very much. So I just wanted to shine a little light on them and, let people know that's another one to try. And as always, do not buy any of these without trying a demo first. And of course, all of them, they have deals that end basically today. So as soon as the show's over, you want to go play around with these and then commit to buying one of them because they all have deals, right?
Yeah.
So just to review, that's Acon Extract Dialogue, Waves Clarity VX, which has basically been $40 almost all year, and Isotopes RX, which now is version 10, and that's music rebalance. It's just part of the RX suite. Another thing, so I've been having some major instability issues with my Mac Mini, which was running on Big Sur for a very, very long time. And as I've told a million people over and over, don't upgrade unless you have a reason. There was a reason. It was fine. It was trying to drive me crazy. Certain apps would crash when I quit them. Others would crash at random. In fact, one of them still is. A Minicam crashed during the first half of the show tonight. But a lot of things got better after this upgrade. And what I did is I took my Mac Mini from Big Sur to Monterey. No, I did not go to Ventura. I've heard a lot of good things, but I'm still not going that step to the current OS. The reason is now because I'm on Mantora. Now I'm on Monterey. Let's just combine them. Now that I'm on Monterey, I am on theoretically the last update of Monterey there's going to be. I'm on 12.6.1. So that means it shouldn't have any surprises. It's in a stable state. It's had all of its updates. And it seems to have been, other than Minicam, which I'm still waiting for their support team to get back to me and tell me why it crashes 3 weeks later. It's the only thing that's giving me trouble. Everything else, all the other little quirky, glitchy, weird things, it would crash over the weekend for no reason. Just all this weird stuff, all gone. So if you're on Big Sur or any older OS and you do have like random problems that just like, and they're like telling you, oh, try this, try that, maybe that is a good time to upgrade to the next OS. So just in my case, it did work out well. I had backups of everything. I knew all my stuff was going to still work on Monterey. I did my research, but it does run better afterward.
Yeah. I tend to trust the updates no matter what, because I'm all the way on Ventura.
Yeah.
What I have found is some programs have not caught up with
like what?
Some video programs, things, some
ScreenFlow?
chat programs. Yeah. And you can see what's going on. It's like taking it a little bit longer. You'll get a little bit of a beach ball and then it'll start working. So I think that Rosetta is, still part of this, and
Definitely.
it takes it a little while to learn it, and then it starts running it much more efficiently. So you just have to be a little patient with it. But
yeah, when I load that Clarity plugin, that's about the only time I see a beach ball on my computer. When I load that Clarity plugin, I see a little pinwheel for about 3 or 4 seconds.
All right. But that cuts into your next thing here. So on Ventura.
Yeah, well, Ventura again. I have heard from Dan, and I've heard from many others that have had very good luck with Ventura. All of those people were already running Monterey, and all of them are running an M1 or Silicon-based Mac. So they're all on very modern systems. And I think for those people, Ventura is working fine. And probably for me, it might work fine, and it might work fine for you. It's still that thing of me not wanting to have software that will update tomorrow or in a month or create a new variable, right? So I think Ventura is probably just Monterey with a bunch of new bug fixes and, things like this. So it's probably just even theoretically even more stable. But it's still, I don't want to have surprises and on a workstation that I rely on day in, day out. Twisted Wave 28, that was the one that the poem was essentially talking about. When Twisted Wave 28 came out, there was an issue with the App Store version. And here's a little thing about App Store versions of apps. I'm not saying it's bad across the board. Certain things, it's nice. You get 5 installs of the app over 5 different computers. It's a good value. In the case of Twisted Wave, it's not a good value. And here's why. Once you buy the Twisted Wave license from twistedwave.com, it lasts forever. I'm using
eternal.
It's eternal. I have a 2007 license of Twisted Wave, and it still works on every computer. So that's one reason not to. Another reason, too, is you're taking money out of the pocket of the developer. So, Apple's going to get 30% of anything you buy from the App Store, and that doesn't go to the developer. So there's another reason. So 3 is something called sandboxing. Sandboxing is something Apple does to protect you from software becoming rogue or becoming a virus. And yes, there is some truth to that, but it does create new headaches for the developer. And that's what essentially was causing the saving issue, because Twisted Wave could not access the file system. When you went to save that new recording, it was stuck in limbo and you couldn't do anything. And it was because of a bug with the App Store version only. So there's a reason to probably stick with the regular version. And even Twisted Wave isn't impervious to bugs. Don't upgrade it if it's running perfectly. Keep it running on the version you currently have, and stay tuned to us. If there's something new, we'll let you know if it's totally worth upgrading to. 2 more quickie things. Twisted Wave as well has a beta for Windows, and they keep adding features. And now I understand it now can support VST plugins. So the next thing will be, can we make stacks for Windows version of Twisted Wave? That's something I haven't gotten to experiment with, but I will, I'm sure, in the next couple of months. And lastly, just a tool that I've been using more and more often. It's called Remote Mouse and Keyboard. And it's an app I run on my iPad. And the beauty of it is it's a remote desktop tool for your own computer. So if you want to, for example, control my Mac Mini, I touch my Mac Mini, it detects it. Now, right now, this screen is acting like a trackpad. That's it. It's moving the mouse around the screen exactly like a trackpad. If I touch the display button, now it's actually, which I know you can't see on camera, now it's actually it's a remote desktop of
there it is,
my actual computer, and I can move seamlessly between my 2 displays, and I can do it on my screen, and I can do it. So it's an amazing tool. I mean, if you want to go into your booth but not have to have a keyboard, monitor, mouse in there and all the wiring involved, this app is awesome. It's been very stable. It seems to work beautifully. And once you get used to the user interface, because basically the screen of your iPad is now a trackpad, right? So it's a little weird. You're moving your finger around the screen, but the pointer is somewhere else. Here's the pointer over here. Once you get used to it, it works really, really well. So that's called Remote Mouse and Keyboard. And it's a great little app. And I found it when I wanted to be able to have my daughter in the booth and not have to be in there messing with stuff. I wanted to be able to just remote control what she's doing, and it's working beautifully for that.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love my Magic Mouse. It just makes life super duper easy when you're editing, which is what I want to talk about tonight. But also want to remind you that if you've got a question for us about your home voiceover studio, whether it's equipment or a problem or something you've wanted to know, throw it in the chat room right now, because Jeff Holman is chomping at the bit to take down your questions and send them to us, and we'll get to those in just a little bit.
That's right.
So whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube, just type it in the chat room there, and we will get to your question in a little bit. Well, I needed to do a little demonstration because when I'm working with people, a lot of people, they're not familiar with editing. And if you can't edit, voiceover can be kind of tricky. And there's so many different apps. We have Twisted Wave, we have Adobe Audition, some use Pro Tools for whatever reason, and there's other programs out there, Reaper and Studio One. There's all sorts, and for all sorts of platforms. When it comes to editing, you have to think like an editor when you're recording, and one of the ways you do that is having yourself a process for when you make a mistake. And some people I just use, punch and roll and go back. Punch and roll is okay if you're doing audiobooks and stuff like that. You still got to go back and clean it up. But when you're editing, when you're recording, one of the things you should probably not do if you make a mistake is to stop and hit stop and record and then have to start all over again and recording again. Twisted Wave is great because it allows you to, you can do all sorts of drop edits and stuff like that. But I wanted to show you something tonight that is something perhaps you didn't even think about. But if you edit properly, you can literally edit in the middle of a word and make it sound like, there was never an edit there. And that's the real key to great editing, is making it totally transparent. George and I talk about this all the time with your processing and all these other things. If they don't know, they don't know. So I'm gonna open up Twisted Wave here. And there
the edits should disappear to the listener. You should have no clue an edit occurred.
And I'm going to show you how to do that, very precisely. So I'm going to read a little copy here, and I'm going to make some mistakes. And then I'm going to show you the real trick to editing this so it sounds like nothing ever happened. Okay, so all I have to do with this is I have to hit record, don't I? Okay, I'm going to hit record. And now we're recording in Twisted Wave, and I have some copy here, and it goes, companies can no longer afford to be reactive. Across all industries, organizations rely on the uptime. And there I go. Or you can use a clicker, something like that. But I usually go, and then you go back a little bit in the sentence. It goes, organizations rely on the uptime of their equipment to be as productive and reliable. As possible. Okay, that's a very short demonstration of that, but okay, back into Twisted Wave here. Okay, hit stop. So there's a lot of stuff you can see here, but if you give yourself visual cues to edit, you can go back and very quickly realize where you made a mistake. And if there's no mark after it, you realize that there's no mistake after that until you see the next line, like right here. But you can literally edit in the middle of a word as long as you edit on a consonant, a T, a P, a K, a B. Reason for that is those consonants start with a very sharp beginning. So as we go back and listen to this, and hopefully you can hear it.
We're not getting the playback, unfortunately.
We're not getting the playback on that. Let's see here. Why are we not getting the playback? We should. Let me see here. Full screen layout, I guess. Audio settings. Audio should be working. Anyway, all right. So let me just take the... Okay, you should be able to hear this now. Okay.
We hear it bleeding from your cans, but
okay, that's good enough. Okay, so I made this noise here. And then you have... There's a T. And we know that I made the mistake back here. There's the T. And the mistake was made here, I believe. There's the T right there. So you can literally go back a number of times until you say it right. But in the middle of a word, it now sounds like... All industries, organizations rely on the uptime of their equipment to be as productive and reliable. And there's a P. And we find the P over here. There's the P right there. And now the whole sentence is... Companies can no longer afford to be reactive. Across all industries, organizations rely on the uptime of their equipment to be as productive and reliable as possible. Okay. And that's the name of that tune.
Yeah, editing is like, it's one of those things where if you do it well, I don't know, there's some cases where it's like editing takes more time than voicing it correctly, but there's a certain point where you're doing long form stuff and revoicing a whole section just to fix one mistake may not make sense. So having good editing chops is going to make you way more efficient. You're going to work much faster.
Yeah. And, and having been an editor since the Nixon administration, and I learned how to edit, on reel-to-reel tape with a razor blade and grease pen and all that kind of stuff. So this is like drawing with crayons because you can literally see where the audio is. And if you edit on a consonant, it just makes it totally, totally seamless because everybody's like, I just got to redo the whole sentence. Well, maybe you didn't like the way you did that sentence, which is the whole thing, my whole philosophy with editing and why you don't stop. I mean, if you make a mistake, you go back to the beginning of the sentence again, but you don't hit the stop button and then try and come back. So that's a really important thing. You've got to understand that editing is, you've got to be able to repeat and understand the natural flow of human speech. There are some people they just sort of butt things together and make sure that, that everything's in there and fits in the time frame. But you've got to have the human pauses in there. And it's really, really important to understand that process. And of course, I can, in any session that I'm teaching on this, I can teach you a little bit more about some of these things. But that's one of my favorites is always edit on a hard consonant. And try not to begin every sentence talking a little bit louder. Because you want to, the William Shatner effect. I find people tend to do that an awful lot. They get in front of a microphone. It's like, oh, I'm beginning a sentence. Okay, I am beginning a sentence. And they just, it just trails off. So, so that's my editing tip for now. And now we're going to go to your questions in just a little bit here. And if you have those questions, put them in the chat room right now because we want to answer your questions on Home Voiceover Studios, whether it's about equipment, whether it's about technique, whether it's about processing, whether it's about whether to process or not. Any question you have, please throw it in the chat room right now, and we will get to it in just a little bit. So anyway, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back here on VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk right after these messages.
This is Ariana Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
It's the holiday season, and if you're a voice talent, not everyone in your family or close friends really understands what you want for your home voiceover studio.
You want a what?
Well, VoiceOverEssentials.com has the perfect solution. The VoiceOver Essentials gift card. It's the perfect answer when you get that "you want a what?" question. You pick the amount you want to give, and they take care of the rest. The recipient will receive their digital gift card and a gift code to use for anything they offer at VoiceOverEssentials.com, like the Harlan Hogan VO1A microphone, the Portabooth Pro or Plus, Harlan Hogan Signature Series VoiceOver Optimized headphones.
You want a what?
Go to VoiceOverEssentials.com and click on Shop and Gift Cards and choose the amount. Give them or give yourself the gift of getting exactly what you want. Gift cards now at VoiceOverEssentials.com. Thanks, Harlan.
Hey there, I'm David H. Lawrence, the 17th, and with my company VO Heroes and my team of coaches and my community of voiceover talent, we guide voiceover actors along their journey. And you may be watching VOBS here and not nearly as far along as many of the other people who are watching. You may not even have started yet. And we actually specialize in helping you do just that. So if you're watching all the stuff going on here on VOBS and going, I have no idea what they're talking about, I don't know, but I really want to do this, I'd really like to help you. Please go to voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start. And you can take our Getting Started in Voiceover class, which tells you everything you need to get started as a voice talent. And I'd love to hold your hand along the way and help you with that journey. Again, voheroes.com/start. That's voheroes.com/start.
Hi, this is Bill Farmer, and you are watching VoiceOver Body Shop. It's great.
I could have swore there's supposed to be a Source Element spot in there somewhere. Take it away. Tell us about Source Elements and Source Connect.
I will. So Source Elements, you've heard me talk about them ad nauseum on the show. They're a great sponsor, longtime sponsor. I bet you didn't know that they have an academy. You didn't know that probably, but they do, and they're doing a lot more training now in-house than they used to. And you can really learn a lot. Now, most of what they're teaching obviously is directly related to their, the services and softwares that they sell. But for example, there's a 4-lesson class called Advanced Remote Recording. So if you find yourself in a role where you're going to be recording somebody else do the voice acting, a course like that could be extremely useful. You'll feel way more understanding of the ins and outs of making that work. Or maybe you just want to be way more comfortable with Source Connect, the software, the one that most voice actors are probably going to have in their studio to connect to other studios. Well, you can get up to speed with a 5-lesson course on Source Connect 3.9. $75 for a 5-lesson course is pretty cool. There's 21 quizzes. You get a course certificate, which obviously you could share on your website. And it's a great way to just become way more comfortable with the tools that you use. Not just somebody who knows what it is and knows if you click here, something happens. Feel like you're a little bit more empowered to understand the tools that you use. So thanks so much, Source Elements. Thanks for supporting us. And thanks now for supplying the tools and the training people really need to get better at this stuff. We'll be right back. And here we are. We can go right back into the show because
we
we're
already did
here.
that. Yeah.
I'm like a programmed robot sometimes. I just go into old habits. So we're in the question zone. What do we have coming in for questions?
We got a couple of questions here. Grace Newton starts off with, I've been avoiding updating my MacBook Air M1. What should I be prepared for when I do? Well, because I just did it myself.
I kind of just talked about it, but what did you do to prepare? Anything special or just time machine backup?
I don't do any of that stuff. I trust Macs. They never screw up on me, except for the one time when I was trying to erase a hard drive when I wanted to sell the old MacBook we had, and it blew out something in there that cost a lot to fix it, which is the first time I've ever had that problem with the Mac. But things happen. I'd say if you're going to upgrade to the new one, which is Ventura, be prepared for it. Like I said, for a couple of delays, maybe with some programs. The thing with Twisted Wave over the weekend, of course, I was like, what, there's a problem with Twisted Wave? And it turns out, well, it was just like you said, it was because of the App Store version of that. I upgraded to Ventura, tried everything, and it always works. I've never really had a problem. I think I probably had more problems when I'm upgrading the OS on my phone more than anything else. The things stop working. The developers are like, what? They changed the OS on the phone and it doesn't work. And you'll try and tap it and it goes, and then it just stops. Something along those lines. But, for the most part, I find that you shouldn't have to worry about too many things. Be patient. Eventually the apps that you're going to have, that work on a Mac are going to adapt and they will work. But this program that we keep talking about, Rosetta, that allows, the computer to interpret old programs to run on a new system, it works pretty well. But sometimes it takes just a second or two for it to kick in. But I think that's what's probably going on.
I mean, if you're already on an M1 machine, upgrading to a new OS should be pretty much problem-free, like it should be. If you're upgrading from older OSs, jumping forward to 2 generations or 3 or 4, that I probably wouldn't recommend. I don't think I would be going to the newest things on an older machine, but because these new OSs were written natively to run on these newer computers like the M1 Mac, you should have a lot fewer issues. So just be backed up, like we all just said and said again, have backup, make sure you're backed up, make sure you know that everything you're running is going to run on that new system. If you're really geeky, you can make an image or whatever we call it of a drive and have a second copy of your whole system. I've known people that go to great lengths to do things like this. I used to, I don't anymore. There's so few things that go wrong once you're within a certain generation of OS. So
yeah,
if you're really worried, book a session with Dan or I. We'll hold your hand and we'll make sure you don't make big, gross mistakes.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I back up everything data-wise. I mean, I've got a 5 terabyte drive here, and I've loaded everything that's been on every computer I've had since like 1997 on there, and it's like, it's hardly breaking a sweat. I mean, it just has lots of room. So it's much easier to just take everything, dump it onto a solid state drive or a large, an 8 terabyte drive or a 5 or something like that. And everything is there. Just keep things organized and know where certain things are. Okay, here's all my sound files from here, and here's all my video files, and here's all my documents, and here's all, and you keep putting it in your hard drive. There's Time Machine, which is also very useful. But I find just saving the data of old productions and stuff like that is really all you need. I mean, if something comes up and you have a client that's like, remember that spot you ran last year? We need to update it, but just with a tag or something. Do you have the old spot? I'm like, there it is. And that makes
it's nice
easier.
to be able to say yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I really like, though, is when a client emails me and said, we're renewing that spot in Norway for another year. Can we do that for another year? And, and here's how much I'm like, yeah, here, fine, no problem. I'll be happy to do that and send you an invoice, but I don't have to revoice it at all. And that was a strange spot for a Norwegian company, but work is work. Anyway, a question for you from AP White Watts.
Okay. Hi, AP. Asking, how am I enjoying the Studio Bricks booth, and is it fairly soundproof?
Fairly soundproof?
It's fairly soundproof, yeah. I mean, it's much, much better than my office with airplanes. Like if I had something mission critical to record, I would be in there in a heartbeat. I was recently interviewed and is now released on J. Michael Collins' podcast. I was interviewed on J. Michael Collins' podcast, and I recorded in the Studio Bricks booth. I know it sounds ridiculous that I don't record in there often. Folks, I don't record much. I'm a coach,
You're not a voice
trainer,
actor for
tech
crying
support.
out loud.
I'm not a voice actor. But I decided I'll record the interview in there, and I had zero interruptions throughout that hour, 40-minute long thing. Like, we have constant aircraft here, vehicles passing by, gardeners. I had absolutely no cause to think to pause or stop talking ever. Never had an interruption. So yes, it has worked out very nicely. It is pretty soundproof. I would say it's better than the average. It's certainly better than any it's better than any single wall constructed booth, like a standard whisper room. It is better than most other booths I've ever heard, and I'm very blessed to have it. And my daughter is the one who's really going to be doing the most recording in there once we start auditioning. She's coaching right now with our dear friend Martha Kahn, who is an excellent children's voiceover coach.
She
highly.
Kids. Yeah.
She's so great. And my daughter is the one who's really going to be doing the lion's share of recording in there. Although our friend Eddie, whenever we do a workout together with my daughter and his kids, he's like, George, now why don't you read on something, man? He's like, man, you need to be doing this. And I'm just like, all right, I'm biding my time. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to distract from everything else going on in my life. I'm not ready to dabble in voiceover. But the booth is mostly going to be used by my daughter when we really start getting serious about auditioning.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Somebody was asking about where do you get a clicker?
Yeah.
You can get them. I mean, you can probably get them at a pet store. Of course, this one was. This was the old voiceover button. No, this was an East West Audio Body Shop clicker.
Oh, wow.
That we had. I've worn it out because I've used it so much on long presentations that you break them up into slides and stuff. That's another thing I could show you is how to break up things into slides on Twisted Wave or in Adobe Audition. But these are great.
Keep more, Dan. Keep one more next time.
Yeah, that's right. It's great because it gives you a great physical audio cue that you can see. Right. We had these and we gave them away, or I think we sold them for like 75 cents or something. I can't remember what we sold them for. But every time somebody from Canada wanted one, I had to fill out an import form
to mail
this thing, because these are clearly a threat to Canadian national security.
Or their GMP or something.
Or something like that. What's coming from America? Canadians should be making these things. More Canadian content. CanCon, as they call it. Guys up in Toronto are going, what? Anyway, these are really nice to have. But you don't have to use a clicker. Like I said, you can always go or beep or something along those lines. That's going to give you the visual cue you need to edit with properly. So we'll go with that. So that you get these anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's marker. You can make M be the marker button and make a marker in the file. But I don't know. If you don't want to have a keyboard in your booth, you want to just be at the mic, not having any extra gadgets, and just this is so easy to have.
Yeah.
It's very, very practical.
Yeah. Let's see here. Jeff asks, last week, if you were here last week, Johnny Heller said a 2-to-1 ratio of booth work to finished hour is standard. Dan, that would be me, are you at that level, and how much extra time do you put in for book prep? Well, I haven't done any audiobooks in about 10 years. To me, it was high effort, low reward, and the reward was getting lower and lower and lower. And, and I did stuff for some big publishers, and I must say, and I always like to say that ACX buys me lunch every month, but just for me. It's, I can go to Wendy's now and that sort of thing. I did like 40 titles, and, a lot of it was for, just, an upfront payment and stuff like that. But the stuff that I had on royalty still is, and there were a couple of very good books, one by Eric Foner, who's a well-known historical novelist. Actually, he's a historian, and it's actually a true historical narrative. And I did that. That's still selling well. There's also one I did on philosophy, which I did not understand one bit, but apparently I must have read it right, because that one keeps selling. That was a very popular book, and so that probably sells 10, 15 copies a month, which is fine and dandy. But of course, if you have a lot of those in royalty, they're going to, it's like an annuity, as we used to say in the insurance business. Yeah, it will continue to accumulate as long as people are buying that book. But as far as a 2-to-1 ratio, I got it down to where I was much faster than that. I mean, maybe when I started, it might have been 3-to-1, but I'm an editor by trade, and that's something I just do incredibly fast because of the techniques that I use and things like that, and the codes that I use. Okay, if I go beep, that means go back to the beginning of a paragraph. If I go, okay, you made a mistake in this word, go back and just fix that word, read the beginning of the phrase or that sentence again, because I don't want to spend a lot of time going back and redoing an entire sentence. And I find that, because of those tricks that I use, I can go through it very, very quickly. Twisted Wave is great for long format narration. Real easy to do drop-in edits. If you have corrections or something along those lines, and the producer says, well, you made a mistake here, or this needs to be changed, or something along those lines, I can just re-record it and just dump it in there, and no one will ever know. As long as you're using the same microphone and, listening to what was my voice sounding like at that particular time of the day.
Yeah.
So 2-to-1, yeah. 2 to 1 is if you're really good at it. I'd prepare to be 3 to 1 if you're just starting out, maybe even 4 to 1, because you have to learn how to edit. But that's why we're here. We're teaching you these tricks that allow you to learn these things and get it done right.
I think another important distinction was he doesn't do ACX books, folks. So those time ratios he's talking about are just to be the actor.
Right.
The folks that are doing ACX books and painfully producing them 100% themselves are spending way more than 2 to 1. They're spending 5, 7, 8 hours per finished hour. I hear this often. People tell me this all the time. And that ain't no way to make a living, folks. That's really just, it's brutal. The mastering, because Johnny was never taught how to do it quickly and easily, to him is an absolute mystery. To me, it's absolutely elementary, my dear, because I've taught how to do it on so many platforms. There's tools that automate it almost completely. It is not nearly as hard as it sounds anymore with the right setup and the training. So, but yeah, proofing, there's no way to shortcut that. It takes a while to proof an audiobook. Now, you might be able to proof it a little faster than real time. I've heard of people listening 1.5 to 1, even possibly 2 to 1. Real time, so they're listening at double speed. But yeah, it's hard. There's not a lot of shortcuts there. You really have to listen to it to catch those mistakes, So, and the better the narrator you are, the better you are at cold reading, or reading it for the second time if you reread the book,
or a third, depending on how much research you do.
Exactly. Then you might be able to move faster. So it all comes down to experience.
Yeah, and of course, when it comes to editing. I mean, if you're editing your own stuff, it doesn't make economic sense, especially if you're doing stuff on ACX, to do it yourself. I mean, you have to do it yourself. If you have somebody else do it, it's cutting into your profit, which is like, pretty thin margin. So it's good to get good at it. And then if you get really good at it, then you can start editing for other people and make up for the money you're not making from not doing enough audiobook work. But there's always a need for editors out there. But the top people don't do their own editing. They send it off to somebody else. There's programs that will do proofing. There's all sorts of stuff that goes with audiobooks, and
it's its own industry, folks. That's why it has its own conferences, its own Facebook groups, its own everything. And when I came into this business from the voiceover end of things, and audiobook people, because of ACX, were starting to appear in my inbox. I had to start really looking into it. What is this process? Oh my gosh, you have to do all this? Oh man, this is time consuming. And finding ways to shortcut and really make the process more efficient for the narrator was the name of the game.
All righty. One more question here from Grace Newton. What's the best way to clean a laptop screen?
No, that's not it.
Yeah, I use Purell.
I have this stuff that I've just had in my drawer for years. It's called Eye Clear Apple Polish. Oh, this is specifically for apples? Okay. It says works on MacBooks. That's what a marketing play. MacBook Pros. Oh, it works on MacBooks and MacBook Pros.
Pro, even though it's the same screen.
This is how old this is. Studio and cinema displays. This has been around for a while. Yeah, something like this, and then spray it onto a Glens cleaning cloth. This one's pretty dirty. And then that's what I use. Actually, I have another cleaning tool. Let's see.
Do you have that brush with the squeegee brush? Where is that? Come on, you got to keep this stuff handy.
Yeah, here it is. So I used to just carry around. I still carry around this brush. I don't even know what this is for. Maybe it's a dusting brush, or maybe it's just sort of a chunky kid's paintbrush. I don't know. This is great for cleaning the nooks and crannies in the keyboard. But then I found these things, and maybe I need to get some more for holiday gifts this year. It's a screen wipe. It's wiping off smudges. It's a dusting brush for cleaning out little dusty things. And it's a little rubber silicone spudgery thing for cleaning out in little cracks and seams and crevices in your keyboard and stuff. This thing's kind of cool. Of course, I don't know what it's called or who made it because, oh, here we go. It's made by Full Circle. full circle.
Not the partial circle, the full circle.
Right. There you go. So, there's a tool you can use to clean out the nooks and crannies.
Yeah. All right. We've got one more question here from AP White Watts. He says, are you able to use the speech recognition feature on Twisted Wave similar to Positron?
Yeah, I haven't spent much time in Positron. So I know what it's conceptually for. I know it's for helping automate proofing and let you know that you misspoke a word. The Twisted Wave speech recognition is a similar idea. So when you're working on a project, you load your script into Twisted Wave's script importing tool. And now while you're recording, it's recognizing each word that you speak, highlighting it. And if you miss a word, miss the word completely, or say the wrong word, it will highlight it in yellow in your script, letting you know where you made a flub. So you can go much more easily back and navigate. And it follows wherever you are in the waveform. So if you highlight a word in the script, it goes right to that word in the waveform and vice versa. So the script and the waveform are always attached to each other in time. It definitely, Dan, if that was around when you were doing this full time, I'm sure you would have used it. Like it probably would have saved you a lot of time.
It may have, but then again, I didn't like doing audiobooks.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. It's just a lot of time.
I mean, heck, and I did the entire Bible. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you can download the demo for 30 days for free, and play around with it. And if you find you like it, it's only $50. And just like everything Twisted Wave, it's a one-time buy. So
Super
it's a
duper.
pretty good value. Yeah.
All right. Some very practical stuff there that you might not normally hear, but you only get it here on VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk.
The condensed version.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. We'll be right back after these messages and wrap things up, so don't go away.
Hi, this is Bill Farmer, and you are watching VoiceOver Body Shop. It's great.
In these modern times, every business needs a website. When you need a website for your voice acting business, there's only one place to go. Like the name says, voiceactorwebsites.com. Their experience in this niche webmaster market gives them the ability to quickly and easily get you from concept to live online in a much shorter time. When you contact voiceactorwebsites.com, their team of experts and designers really get to know you and what your needs are. They work with you to highlight what you do. Then they create an easily navigable website for your potential clients to get the big picture of who you are and how your voice is the one for them. Plus, VoiceActorWebsites.com has other great resources, like their practice script library and other resources to help your voiceover career flourish. Don't try it yourself. Go with the pros. VoiceActorWebsites.com, where your VO website shouldn't be a pain in the you-know-what.
Your dynamic voiceover career requires extra resources to keep moving ahead. There's one place where you can explore everything the voiceover industry has to offer. That place is voiceoverextra.com. Whether you're just exploring a voiceover career or a seasoned veteran ready to reach that next professional level, stay in touch with market trends, coaching, products, and services while avoiding scams and other pitfalls. VoiceOver Extra has hundreds of articles, free resources, and training that will save you time and help you succeed. Learn from the most respected talents, coaches, and industry insiders when you join the online sessions, bringing you the most current information on topics like audiobooks, auditioning, home studio setup and equipment, marketing, performance techniques, and much more. It's time to hit your one-stop daily resource for voiceover success. Sign up for a free subscription to newsletters and reports. It's all here at voiceoverextra.com. That's voiceoverextra.com.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on The VoiceOver Body Shop.
Hey there. Well, let's see. Next week is... What's next week going to be? Next week is like the last week before Christmas. I don't know if we'll see you all before Christmas, but happy Hanukkah to everybody and Merry Christmas. And we're still deciding whether we want to do a show the day after Christmas. Because Christmas is on a Sunday.
When is Hanukkah this year?
It starts next week sometime.
Oh, okay.
Not next week. It starts... It starts the 19th, Monday the 19th.
Oh, it's a lot close. It actually overlaps Christmas.
Yes, everybody says, "Oh, it's late this year," and then if you know the Jewish calendar, it's like, no, it's when it always is.
It's never late. It's
the
always when it
25th of
means to
Kislev.
be.
That's when it always is. Anyway, next week on the show, who knows who we're going to have, but somebody will be there. Although I did run into Maurice LaMarche at the vet the other day, and he said he wanted to be on the show again.
That would be fun. Oh my God.
He has a very large dog. Anyway, who are our donors of the week? We have Robert Leadham,
Stephen Chandler,
Casey Clack,
Jonathan Grant,
Tom Pinto,
Shelley Avellino,
Greg Thomas,
A Doctor Voice,
Antland Productions,
Martha Kahn,
949 Designs,
and Christopher Epperson,
Sarah Borges,
Philip Sapir,
Brian Page,
Patty Gibbons,
Rob Ryder,
Shauna Pennington Baird,
Don Griffith,
Trey Mosley,
Trey been with us for years, Diana Birdsall,
and Sandra Manwiller.
Manwiller. Yeah, well, I have to get ready for my shift at Trader Joe's, so we're gonna get out of here.
That is the quintessential Trader Joe's shirt.
It's an old joke, but it's also an old shirt. So, okay. Remember, if you need help with your home voiceover studio, you can go over to homevoiceoverstudio.com, and I can help you out, and we'll talk about the voiceover business and how to make sure your audio is sounding right. Or you can talk to Mr. Tech, George the Tech, at georgethe.tech, right?
That's right. And there's a webinar that you have missed by now, but don't worry, because every webinar that we do on live or dead, every single one of them is archived in our online store on Vimeo that you can rent and watch for a year. So don't worry if you missed it. We just did one on Adobe Audition.
Cool.
Actually, yeah, that's right. It was on Adobe Audition.
Yeah,
gift ideas, by the way, because it's still the holidays. My dear dad, he loves making stuff. And let me show you a couple of kinds of things that my dad makes. Now, this one is not, okay. This one, unfortunately, the wiring, no, that's not the right one either. I've got all these things, they're dioramas. My dad makes dioramas, and he makes them for whatever you can think of. This is a diorama of me at the bicycle shop where I volunteer every Wednesday night.
Exactly what it looks like.
At the microwave. There you go. Isn't that cute? Yeah. So that's the kind of thing my dad. So he makes dioramas, but he also makes whirligigs. And here's one right here. This one's got some extra wiring and stuff because we're trying to make it electrified. So because I don't have wind in my apartment. But anyway, this is a whirligig. You spin the propeller and the thing moves around. This is probably one of the least interesting ones because it's just based on my old recording studio that was based in an RV that looks exactly like this, down to the audio snake in the back. Right there. There's the snake with the big cable. It's amazing. Anyway,
very, very personal and customized.
I mean, that's what I mean. He makes bespoke, designs if needed, or you can check him out. Just email him. My dad's not on Etsy. Okay, he's too busy for that. He's just email
whirligigs.
Fairweather whirligigs at Comcast.net. You can send my dad an email. He can either make you something custom or send pictures of some of his inventory because he's got quite a few.
All righty. All right. We need to thank our sponsors like Harlan Hogan's Voiceover Essentials.
Yeah. Voiceover Extra.
Source Elements.
Source Elements. Yeah, you said that one. VOHeroes.com.
VoiceActorWebsites.com and WorldVoices.org, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. Thanks to Jeff Holman for getting the questions in from the chat room, Sue Merlino for just amazing direction tonight, and Lee Penny just for being Lee Penny. Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Hey, we'll see you all very shortly. Enjoy this show, and you can watch any show because they're all on YouTube and they're all on Facebook, and you can go back and start from the beginning, and in 11 years you will catch up.
That's right. Well, watch one episode every day. It'll take you like a half a year. No, It'll take you a year. Yeah, no, it'll take you more than a year. We'll get to work.
Yeah, start now. done by 2024. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. You know, this is not an easy business, voiceover, but if your sound is got to be there. But as we always say, if it sounds good,
it is good.
I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is Voiceover
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Have a great holiday season, everybody.